So welcome to the Monday Masterclass. Tonight, we're going to talk about how Ayurveda deals with osteoporosis. One of the things that I want to talk about with osteoporosis is, first of all, menopause is something that is, even though it's a natural process that happens, the body stops producing the female hormones. And as a result, what can happen is, I'm just going to read from my notes. I did not have a lot of time today to prepare for this. So it's going to be a all notes type of thing. So what happens is we stop having the regular hormones that move through the body, and it starts affecting our metabolism. And then it affects our bone metabolism. So the reproductive and the other functions of that the female hormones keep going, they start to be compromised, because those hormones are necessary for the regulation of the bone metabolism, as well as the reproductive or tissues, and just your regular metabolism as well. So that's why some women end up with osteoporosis. And it's very much more common and much more of an issue for people who are more Vata and Pitta individuals. So that means that you were born and your dosha is, your constitution is Vata Pitta, or you have been dealing with a Vata Pitta imbalance for many, many, many years. And that happens, by the way. What happens for a lot of people is we get into ways of living, certain modes of living, certain habits of eating and lifestyle, and then it aggravates certain elements. So that pushes on Vata, pushes on Pitta, and then that can also lead to problems, so that you have issues with the bones. And I want to remind you that the bones, if there's too much air, it'll often get stored in the bones, which makes the bones more brittle. So that's another issue. So as far as osteoporosis is, it's basically the thinning, and increasing porousness of the bones due to increased Vata. So just like I said, too much air, too much ether. Bones are normally porous, but because of the increase in Vata, with a normal occurrence as a person grows older, so you move into the Vata stage of your life. First stage of life is your Kapha stage. Kapha is earth and water. It means that you have plenty of moisture, you have plenty of tissue. That's why babies have rolls and they have mucus all over the place. That's Kapha stage. It's a growing time. The second stage is your Pitta stage. Pitta is when it's all about action. It's all about completing goals and tasks. You know, that's when we go to college, we get married, we have kids, we get a house. It's all about doing things. The last stage of life is Vata. So all these stages, what tends to happen is we also will experience the physiological aspects of Kapha in our early part of our life, mucus, colds, infections, that kind of stuff. And then we'll experience more of the Pitta type of stuff in that middle part of our life. And then as we get older, everybody is going to become more Vata, because we start to become more frail. We start to, everything starts to break down. That's what's necessary. We're going to go back to the earth. That's what's going to happen. So then you get older, you move in the Vata stage of life. Now, if you're already Vata, it's a double whammy. So sometimes individuals lose so much bone that it weakens in spots, and you can develop, it affects your skeletal structure. Hips, forearms, and the spine can often be an area where you'll notice more problems. They're easy to break. And then the bones may crack under the body's own weight. And I have a student right now, a couple of clients that I'm dealing with that are dealing with that. And that also happened to a couple of relatives that I had. I have one of my aunts, she fell, she broke her hip. Then after that, broke another bone, then another bone. Then, I mean, it was just kind of this, once it started, she just couldn't get better. So any minor injury then could also then cause a fracture. So osteoporosis is more common in women, and women lose bone more rapidly after menopause. It's because of the post-menopausal body produces no estrogen. So estrogen, you can supplement that with foods that you eat. There's creams out there. It's usually highly recommended. My doctor recommended it to me, but we also recommend it in Ayurveda as well. You also will need more calcium and magnesium and zinc, and then other materials for building the bone. So we got to look at what are the different minerals that are needed to build bone. And we have to supplement those if we're not getting them from the food we eat, or also if you're not getting them just like even from, if you're not eating meat. So if you don't eat meat, then you also need to supplement. Post-menopausal years, women may also have a tendency towards menopause, and men who also need estrogen also need to maintain strong bones. So men can get osteoporosis too, just not as much. Testosterone and the prostate secretions play an important role for men. Men lose bone mass due to heavy drinking, heavy smoking, chewing tobacco, and other, like maybe even taking steroids. So if they've taken a lot of steroids. So men need to watch out with a lot of their habits. Those things do not help with your bone density. Lack of exercise also is an issue that can reduce bone mass. So people need to make sure you put stress on the body, stress on the bones, so that you build bones. So exercise is important. And that means not just cardiovascular, weight-bearing exercises. That's why when you do yoga, I always tell everybody, don't just do the easy yoga classes like the Qigong and Tai Chi and the Yin. Those are great, but you got to do some of those more advanced practices like tonight's practice, where we have to hold our body weight, and it's forcing us to build bone density. Also, well, let me just make sure I go through everything. So also research has shown that if a person is confined to a sedentary lifestyle or in bed for several weeks, the bones will become significantly weaker. And we see that with muscle mass as well. So when you don't use it, you lose it. And also for women, there's a combination of vata as we get older, like I said, and we need to also look at how we're dealing with menopause. Definitely get some estrogen through our diet and creams, and also look at how we can help build bone mass. And also ojas, your vital reserves, is important. If you're depleted, that means that your vata is high. Okay, so if you're a vata person, you have to manage that. And that's why I always tell everybody wants to be vata. Like years ago, I used to teach at Truckee Meadows Community College. I still am there, but years ago, I used to do the dosha test. I would pass it out. And I would have people all the time fill out those tests so that they would be a vata, but they were clearly not vata people. They thought they wanted to be vata, but what they don't realize is that, yeah, you might be thin, but then you end up having more problems in life. And then especially as we get older, more and more problems. So being vata is not necessarily the best thing. It's harder. You have to manage it. You have to get on top of it. You have to have a routine. You have to exercise. You have to do that bone density, bone building, weight training, body type of exercise where you're actually having to hold your body. So exercise is important. Also, like I said, weight bearing. Sorry, you guys, it's because I'm going through my notes. I have kind of stuff all over the place. Just make sure we go through. Calcium is important. Herbs that are good for women are shatavari and also yam. And that's like generally known anyway. But shatavari is really great. Shatavari is known as a hormone balancer in general, but it also kind of helps stabilize. Those herbs are precursors of estrogen and progesterone. So if you need a formulation and you're wanting to start incorporating shatavari into your lifestyle, then reach out to me and I will help you with that. Okay, so that's basically it for osteoporosis. If you're already dealing with it, then it's really important that you continue to do weight-bearing exercises. You continue to manage what you're eating, make sure you're supplementing and all of that. Okay, so that's the gist.